Welcome back, everyone, to all of you that have stuck with this so far. This is a very technical and advanced piece. So my hat off to you newbies. If you're giving it a shot, you can always modify it and play with your wire and see where it all takes you. So what had happened in part 2 as I was weaving, my camera timed out. And unfortunately, instead of pausing, it stopped. So I have no idea how to edit a secondary, video to my initial video. So we're now going to do part 3, which, by the way, might be part 4. So I was weaving up in here and I brought the weave down. Okay. And then just for a little embellishment, I added some 4 28 gauge weaving wires underneath the 20 gauge half round. And on the back, I've separated out my wires. I'm just starting to give myself visuals. If you move your wire around as you're deciding on your design, if you don't sketch like me, then it helps you start to get an idea visually where you might be able to go, maybe change it up as you're going, which is what I do so much. So I'm about a little over 3/4 of the way down, and I'm thinking about integrating these longer wires in the back to the front of the piece, because I'll have more stone room because these are going to be together here. So this is what's been going through my mind as I've been looking at this, going, this is why I do walkaways. So it's great to do this in so many parts because it gives me an opportunity to have more flow. When, again, I'm doing tutorials, there's a little pressure, believe it or not, of like, oh my gosh, I do everything so freestyle. What in the hell am I going to do here? Where when I'm by myself, it's like, okay, I don't know. I'm going to walk away. It'll come to me. So it did give me some time to think about that, and I'm still playing with it. So I stopped here. And what I did is I continued the weaving with I stopped at 6, then I went to 5, 4, then I went to 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3. And I finished off with just 1 coil around the outside. I'm going to definitely have to bring wire in. I'm thinking that already, or maybe not. I don't know. It's going to depend a lot on how I change things up. So what I wanted to focus on was the back. And if you notice here, I had this wire hanging out in part 2. So this is part 3, y'all. And I snapped it off. I got rid of it. I thought I'm not going to use that mangly piece of wire up there. So I think what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to weave the legs. So I'm going to continue with the 28 gauge weaving concept. And as before, I'm not going to probably need as much, so I think I'm going to start with, I'll tell you here in a minute, that's 2, oh goodness. You guys can't see, but I'm tangling my wire. It's just a part of this magical journey. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm not going to need 4 feet, although you can see that got very little of our 4 feet left up here, and that was probably more around 4.5 feet. So I'm going to cut 3 feet. I think that's good. And as before, I'm just going to cut off 3 feet, and I'm going to fold it in half. Now, before I cut it in the middle, I'm always seeing things as I'm going, and I'm thinking about, but I'm not sure how that will look, and the stone is still going to move. So it's really important as you're doing things that you watch what you're doing with your wires, that you're maintaining symmetry. I'm constantly putting this down on my board and looking at how my stone is lining up. I'm holding my wires together and looking at the width on each side. I'm always doing that. Even if I have time to make corrections, I'm still always looking at that. It's just how my mind works, y'all. You do whatever you think is necessary. So I was thinking about feeding it underneath all 4 of these. I'm just going to kind of give it a go here for a minute and see what I think. So I'm sliding this up underneath all 4 wires, but on top of the half round that's going straight down the middle of my design. And then I'm just going to line up my stone And I'm going to see if I can get away with this. I'm going to lift up on these wires a little bit so I can get up underneath them. And there's probably going to be a part for you guys. This is so technical. It's not something you rush through. So I'm going to slide that up. I'm going to try it. If I don't like it, I'm going to wrap 2 coils. And again, the wire, I just made a U and I slid it up underneath these 4 wires here. Then I'm going to slide this up. I need to lift up on these wires because I need to get my weaving wire up underneath there. Make sure I've got some working room in there. I want to make sure that's good and tight, and I'm thinking I might be able to get away with this. But we'll see. As long as I don't have all these other wires in my way. So I'm just going to wrap twice, and I'm pulling really tight. So both my wires are coming out on the same side. And I've just essentially connected them together without having to use an individual wire on each side. Just going to line them up. So I'm still in the thinking process of how I'm going to connect these to the front. And I'm going to bring these in closer. So I'm just simply holding my bail very firmly, grabbing the 2 little short inside legs on the bottom and just bringing them in. Just going to bring them in a little bit. I need some working room. So what I'm going to do, this is a 2-wire weave, meaning even though I'm not using 2 separate wires, I'm going to be crossing the wires over. So I'm going to wrap around this inside wire once and pull it up. Then I'm just going to move it around the way there. Then I'm going to come over the 2 wires here and wrap around this inside wire once and pull it up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross these over. So I am going to swing this wire over to my wire on the right to the left, but I'm going to come up underneath both of them. And then I'm going to swing it over and just snuggle it in with my hand. And then I'm going to I do this a lot, and I use many different techniques when I'm doing this, but I do this a lot when I'm making bales. I just like it. It secures things really well. So I'm crossing the wire on the left over to the right. Then I'm going to guide them underneath both those outside wires and just slide that up. I'm going to get my pliers in here, and I'm just going to cinch everything together. And what do I got going here? I'm going to slide that down. And that up. That needs to open up a little bit more in there. Just centering it up, making sure that they're parallel, because that stone is still going to move around. So now I'm going to continue this pattern. But this time, both wires are coming up underneath the 2 wires. So I'm going to wrap around the outside wire, 1 full rotation. Then I'm going to wrap over the inside wire, and I'm just going to let this hang out on top. I'm going to get it out of my way. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. So I'm wrapping around the outside wire, 1 full rotation. Then I'm going to wrap over, I'm going to straighten up that wire. It was going down on an angle. Then I'm going to wrap over the inside wire, 1 full rotation. And then this is where we're going to cross over again, but I'm going to make sure everything's lined up before I do that. Just wanted to straighten. I'm really picky, you guys, so. And it doesn't make me perfect. It just means how I work. You know, I'm just picky. I want my coils to be the same direction, blah, blah, blah. So now, as before, I've got 2 wires coming out on top. I'm going to bring the wire from the left over to the right. And I'm going to slide that coil down. It's a little bit too high. See what I mean? It's probably going to drive you all crazy. Okay, so I'm going to slide this up underneath the 2 wires here. And now the wire on the right, I'm going to bring it over and I'm going to slide it up underneath the 2 wires on the opposite side. And then it's just the same thing. Just want to line them up. I think I need to bring these down a little bit. Okay. And you can see my stone is off center. That's okay. It's just going to keep moving around until I connect all the wires. So it's the same thing. I'm wrapping around the outside wire once, going over the inside wire 1 complete rotation, let the wire hang out on top. Then I'm going to cross them over. So I'm bringing this up underneath the 2 wires to the opposite side. And I'm bringing this up underneath the 2 wires on the opposite side. I'm going to do this one more time, and then I'm going to weave down about, because I need to bring these wires in more. So I'm going to start bringing in my gap space. So let's do that now. Because as I'm looking at this, I want to connect these over the stone. So I need them a little bit closer in. And I just needed that gap space, so I'm just squeezing it in a little bit to be able to start my weaving pattern. So let's do this one more time. I'm going to weave down to right about here. So about, if this is the middle of the stone here, okay? I'm going to weave down about 3/4, a little less than 3/4 of the way. So we'll do this one more time. I'm going to wrap around the outside wire 1 complete rotation. I'm going over the top of the second wire, wrapping completely around it. Let my wire hang out on top. So wrapping around the outside wire 1 complete rotation, going over the inside wire in between, and both wires are hanging out on top. And then it's the same thing each time. The wire on, if this was my left right now, is going to go underneath the 2 wires on my right, and the wire on my right is going to go over and underneath, not over, underneath only the 2 wires on my left. So that is the pattern. I'm going to weave down and I'll be right back. So I wanted to pop back in really quick, you guys, because for me, I'm all about connection and not letting anything come undone or be suspect to maybe lifting up. So as I was looking at this, I said, I need to connect these wires underneath, okay? So this is the point where we're crossing over, right? Now this time when I cross over, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get all these loose wires out of my way. I'm going to cross over, but instead of going under the 2 outside wires, you're going to get so many techniques, y'all. This whole ancient art is very technical. I'm going to find an open space because I need to get this underneath. And if I have to, I'll lift up on my wire. So I'm going to see if I can find myself a little gap here, because I'm going to bring it up underneath that and connect it to the back wires. And I just remembered I did that on my last piece. So I'm going to get, this is one of my favorite tools. It's a carving tool. I'm going to hold very firmly right here. And all I'm going to do is just gently come up underneath this, and very gently, without compromising my piece or twisting it, I'm just going to push that little carving blade up underneath. Just lifting it away from the stone ever so slightly. And so I'm going to try it now. I'm going to straighten my wire. And just give it a little tiny bit of a curve. And I think I'm going to have to close. There it is. Do you see it coming out? I'm going to have to close my blind, you guys. I can see this light, and I don't know how it's affecting. I'm just going to slide it out of there for a second. So now I'm going to I'm pulling this wire, and you want to keep a really healthy loop on that wire as you're dragging it through. And I need to get the wire to start coming up. So I'm going to give it a little help and slide it up. I'm putting a little memory in it, telling it where I want it to go. And I'm just going to keep doing that because it's a little tighter down there until I can actually feel it slide up. I'm just going to keep pulling that wire towards where the weave stopped. I want to connect it. There we go. We're in. I want to connect it to this frame here. And don't worry about your stone moving around. So the same thing over here. Let's get all of this out of the way. Make just a little bit of a curve. I'm going to come up underneath these two so that I can feed it under and not have to worry about going around those wires. And I'm just feeding it through. But I put a little kink back there so it wants to spring back. And I'm going to grab that wire. And I know there's a lot of wire going on here. This is why it's advanced, y'all. I'm going to slide it up. I'm going to keep a healthy loop on it. Then slowly I'm going to start pulling it through. I'm going to watch before I really tighten up. I need to get this wire to come up, way up. There we go. We got it. So now we're connected to this half round frame here. And that's going to really secure these wires in. So as before, the wires are coming out the back, but they're coming underneath that half round frame. So I'm going to try to snug them up as high as I can. And then I'm going to start the same weaving pattern. Wrapping around the outside wire, wrapping around the inside wire. Outside wire, make sure they're good and tight, that there's no gap underneath there with that wire underneath your frame wire. And then we're just going to cross over. So I wanted to pop back in as I caught that and said, oh, I got to show them this. This is very important for the integrity of your work and it holding up. Really important. At least it is to me. And I hope it is to you. So now it's coming up underneath, same thing. So I'm going to do that off camera, the rest of it. Now that we stop to make sure that this was firmly connected. Oh my goodness, all these wires. Okay, all right. So I'm going to stop somewhere around here. Like I said, not 3/4 all the way, I don't know. And we'll see, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to change up because I want to see some of this wrap back here. I just do. You can continue all the way down, but it's going to cover it up all the way. And I decided, you know what? I want to see more of that wrap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do more coils on the outside. So I'm just going to cross over, or under, I should say, one more time. And I'm going to spread out. I'm going to create a gap in between. And then I'm going to cross over here. And I think this will make sense when I show you now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 5 wraps. That's 2, 3, 4, 5 full rotations. So as you're coming around, this would be starting of your 6th on top. And this is going to create a gap in between, and it's going to change it up, and it's going to be really cool looking. At least I think so. So I'm going to do 5 here, and I may add more. I'm going to see how that's going to look first before I cross over and tie off. And I may run out of wire, you guys. It's a guesstimate, I tell you. Some people use these measuring tables. I don't. I just eye everything. Okay. There's measuring tables out there that says if you have a 28 gauge wire and you're weaving it around a 20 gauge square or an 18 gauge square, this is how much wire you're going to need to make ABC. A 1/4 inch, a 1/2 inch, 5 millimeters, whatever it is that you're working on. So now what I want to do is I just want to cross it over and see what's going to peek out. And it looks like I'd have 1 wrap peeking out. So I kind of want 2. So I'm going to do, out of this 5, I'm going to do 7. 7 coils. So I'm just going to take a visual. That's better. I like that better. So now I'm going to cross over, and then I'm going to cross over the inside wire here. And now I may change up again, depending on if I like the way that single wire looks going across the top. I may not like that. So you know what? I'm going to stop here. And I'm just going to weave the 2 legs on the outside. They're firmly connected. I'm not worried about them. So let me show you what I'm going to do. And that way we can start getting busy into other areas. I'm going to wrap around, and I'm coming underneath this time. And this time I'm going to do 5 wraps, not 7. And then I'm going to wrap around, come up underneath, just changing it up, giving more decoration to this design. And I'm going to do 5 wraps. And then I'm going to come around. And then as I come underneath again, I'm going to stop because I'm not sure what I want to do yet. So I did 3 repeats, excuse me. So now I'm going to come underneath. What I do here? Oh, I see. Just need to tighten up on that. All right. So I'm going to do 5 wraps. Then the same thing, I'm doing the same pattern around and under. Let's line these up. I'm yanking them on an angle. That bugs me. Let's see. This one has to come down. Need to straighten it out a little bit. There we go. Want those lined up good. So I'm going to do 5 wraps. And then I'm going to do the same repeat. And then I'm just going to bring it under because I'm not sure what I'm going to do. And now I'm going to line them up. So isn't that beautiful? Just changing it up. More design, you know, it's just more and more design, more intricate. It's, I don't know, just works for me. Okay, so we're going to come back and start centering everything up here because I'm not going to be connecting these little short ones up front. They're actually going to stay around back. And as I'm looking at that, I'm eventually either going to cut them. I don't know yet. They might be in my way right now. I may bring them over this outside wire here. So I'm going to make just 1 connecting coil. And I may bring in more wire. I'm not sure. You're just going along for the ride with me, everybody. So I'm already thinking about how I want to connect this wire, which is why I stopped my weaving here. And I'm going to slide these all up. These are going to move around a lot, so you have to be really mindful not to jackknife your wire, and make sure that you keep your coils slid back. I'm going to be very careful. I'm going to come under here and just push them. Did you see how those slid back? These are pretty tight over here. So I'm looking at that. I'm going to center this on my board because it's not centered. And I know these are going to come in a lot tighter. I could temporarily tie them, but I'm not going to do that yet because it's just giving me a gauge. So I'm going to push them in even closer. And this is my thought here. And symmetry is so important at this juncture. So you want to make sure your dead center, your width is the same on each side. And I'm going to push this wire from the back over the stone. Make sure you keep your flat side up. And then I'm just going to push it. So we have this. And squeeze those together. Push this. I want to keep my flat side up. Make sure that I'm maintaining my symmetry here. Because this isn't a perfectly calibrated stone. So if I don't make sure I'm on spot center, it could be wider on this side or deeper or thicker or have a little bevel to it. You never know. So I'm just going to first, and then I'll turn it around because I need to see in front. Grab my plier and pull it over like that. Put it down on my board. Just lining everything up, seeing how everything's lining up, because this is a very critical point. Only if we had 4 hands. We'd look weird. Okay, so this was my thinking a while ago, and I'm probably going to have to bring in wire. And I might be a little premature on this. So my thinking was to bring this over, just secure it to those wires by just pushing it over, bring this over. I'm going to get a better visual now. Make sure this is on its flat side as my stone is sliding in and out. Okay. I'm just going to temporarily push it closer to these wires here, or wires that are hanging down here and here, because sometimes, as I mentioned in all of my tutorials, we want to go in the opposite direction or in a direction that may not make any sense to get the wire to do what we want it to do. And I'm just squeezing it all in. Looking at my symmetry. I had a lot of people out of the 25,000. I found out today it's almost 30,000 now. And I'm so happy. That's the first time that's ever happened because Facebook decided to share my channel or my page or whatever you call all this crazy social media stuff. And a lot of people asked me, could you please consider doing a tutorial on this? And I said, I can't because it's totally freestyle, but I can do the concept and see what we come up with. So this is almost, to me, more technical than the other one because of the way I need to bend these wires. So now, I'm going to hold very firmly. Do the best that you can to find center. Swing it in. So right here, below this wire here, I'm going to come a little below it, and I'm going to turn this wire out. Just going to keep turning it out. Do a little bit at a time. And it's going to be the same thing over here, and we'll be able to make adjustments, and I can already feel things tightening up, which is great. Right below that outside wire, I'm pressing the wire against the stone itself as I'm turning it. And I'm doing it very slowly because I want to really keep symmetry. I'm going to turn it even more. I need a little bit more of a sharper bend on it. So I'm just going to pitch it. And I'm looking down here and I'm looking over here. Now I'm going to turn it around. See how they're lining up. And get this little wire out of the way. I'll slide those back up in a minute. Okay. Here comes even a more trickier part. I'm going to start to round or scoop this out to ride against this wire, and I'm not going to put a big bend in it, just enough to get the wire to the outside. We'll be able to make adjustments when we start connecting them. But this is what's been going through my mind. I've been thinking out loud to myself. We're actually inside, like, can I do that? Can I get that wire to do that? So this was turning on itself a little bit. So I'm bringing the flat side up as I'm pushing this wire around. So let's take a look. Let's line up the stone. I'm going to roll this in a little because it's turning on its edge. A lot of just turning around, and I am sure some of the, top rappers and, people in the world that draw and stuff probably have just maybe do it just with incredible ease. I don't know. But I do everything very slowly and methodically. That's why I'm always saying, do what works for you. So I'll be able to adjust those after I connect them. So this was what I was thinking. So I'm pushing firmly here, and now we're going to connect. I'm going to come up underneath this wire, okay? And if you have to, just keep moving it down or out more. And then I need to move it out more. I can see that's got to be pitched more. And let me go around to this side. Take a look at that. I want this on its flat side, so I'm really watching that it doesn't twist. So this wire's already coming up underneath this side. Lining it up. Squeezing. I'm squeezing front to back. And I'm going to come up underneath. Oh, I'm not going the right way, am I? Yeah, that's not going to work. What was I thinking? I just went to myself, oh my God, that's not going to work. What am I doing? That's a backwards weave. That'll never work. I'm coming. Okay, let me get this straight in my brain. I'm going to come over the top of these two wires and I'm going to come in between and I'm going to pull it together. Then I'm going to come over this inside wire and pull it in. We're going to be changing the weave pattern a little bit. Just going to line that up. So, same thing here, but that's turning. So I want to make sure that it's on its flat side. And if it doesn't work out, I gave it a go. Sometimes what I come up with in my head doesn't necessarily math out. And so you know what I do? I just compensate. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do this instead. Okay. Boy, is things starting to center up and just connecting those wires there. Wow, it makes me so happy. Really does. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to change our weave pattern. We're no longer going to do a figure 8. We could, but it would be really tedious. I'm going to come up under, well, actually, let's just go around this one first. We want to completely secure. Okay, you guys, let me start over. I'm coming in between these two wires here. I'm going to come up underneath both of them. Just got to watch what you're doing. Slide that wire up. If you need help, grab your plier. I believe this is called a modified sumac weave. And then I'm going to come over this outside wire here. And actually, you guys, I wanted to come underneath. Sorry for all the confusion, but it's the same process for me. So I'm going to feed this under. So I still want to go around this wire right here, the outside wire, but I want to connect it underneath. And I might have to make a little scoop in it. This wire here, I need to connect that at least 2 times. I'm going to hold very firmly, slowly slide it through on an angle until I can get it up underneath it. There we go. And we'll do that again on the other side so it makes sense. Because I'm catching things as I'm going and going, oh, that's not going to work. So now I've got to feed it through this again, but it's going to be too hard. So I'm just going to do like last time. I'm going to wrap over the top of both. Then I'm going to come all the way around this outside wire, one complete rotation, slide it down, leave yourself slack so you can manipulate your wire. Because we're going to be moving these. And then I'm going to come over the inside wire. And I'm going to slide everything together. And I'm definitely going to need to bring in wire. And this is definitely going to be 4 or 5 part series. I swear. You're like, oh no. Well, just goes to show you, especially when I'm teaching. The other piece took me, with all my stops and coming back, I would say a total of 4 hours, okay? And that's not teaching and saying, oops, I got to tell somebody something. It's just being in a flow and then saying, I don't know what I'm going to do, so I'm going to walk away, and then I'll come back and look at it again. So I was constantly making changes and moving things around. So this is going to take a lot longer because I'm instructing. All right, we're coming out underneath the bottom, so we're going to come back underneath these 2 wires here, slide it up. Then, as I'm coming around here, I want this wire to go up underneath the outside wire. So I'm coming in between these two, make a little scoop in it and feed it up underneath there. Then slowly, I'm going to start sliding it through. Hold your piece very firmly when you do that, or you can mess up your shape. And then I'm going to do the same pattern all the way around this one and all the way around the inside wire. So I'm probably going to bring in wire because my wires are getting short and it gets a little frustrating. Now my stone is moving around still until I get these guys connected. Slide them up. So let's take a look. All right. I'm going to bring these around the back of the stone. So you got to make sure you've got center. You want to hold very firmly. I'm just going to use my hand first just to push it around. You know what? I might change that, you guys. I might leave it on top. Use my hand to push this around because I may not have enough wire to do what I'm thinking. This is so, it's like getting more and more technical as I'm going. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Let me think about that because I may be able just to wrap them and connect them in here. This is what I mean by I'm so freestyle. I'm always like going, okay, I need to compensate. That's not going to work. So before I do anything else, I'm going to continue weaving these. And I don't like the fact that I'm running out of wire. So I'm probably going to bring some wire in here very soon because as it gets short, it makes it very difficult to manipulate. Did I go around that already? Yeah, I did. So I'm just going to go under 2, then over 1. That's all I'm doing. This is what I believe they call the modified sumac weave. It's the only time I heard someone actually give a name other than they call something a figure 8 because the pattern, in fact, is a figure 8. Okay, this is getting really short. Now I'm having to push wire through. So I'm going to stop right here and I'm going to do 2 coils on the outside wire here because we're only working on these 2 wires, and I'm going to do the same amount over here. Slide down my wire because we're going to bring these together and I may be able to incorporate them over the front. There might be part 6. I don't know how many of you are going to stick with it, but I hope you do. There's a lot to learn, right? I'm learning all the time. Okay, I want to make sure I have the same series of wraps, and then I'm going to do 1 more coil, and I'm going to cut wire. Okay, we're 45 minutes in, and I want each one to be no longer than an hour. So we got a lot more to do. I'm just going to make sure those are lined up nicely, hold very firmly. Push these in a little bit more. Yeah, I'll probably, or I'll either loop it. I'm not quite sure yet, y'all, but we need wire. So I've got my 2 coils here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start 2 coils on the inside legs here, okay? And on the back, I'm just leaving those. And I think what I'm going to do here I'm not going to mess around too much on the back until I know what I want to do. So I'll just leave these wires back here for right now. And there's not a whole lot left. So where is my 28 gauge weaving wire? That's 26. Got to find it. Be right back. Okay, just to let you know, we're going into 8 feet of wire. I just cut another little over 4 feet and cut it in half. And I've got this wire out on the outside underneath. So I'm going to wrap 2 coils on the inside wire of each side. And I'm going to continue that pattern. Let me see. That's 1, and that's 2. Until I get down here and I can start connecting them together. So as soon as I get down here, so that you're going to do the same pattern, you're going to add your wire. So I got my 2 coils. I'll do this side, and then I'm going to weave that same pattern down to here to connect them. So it's the same thing over here. Do you do 2 complete or 1.5? I'm going to back out of that other one because I want to do 2 complete coils. I kind of want to spread out this weave a little bit. So I'm looking at what I have done here. I'm going to back out. Those were really 1.5. So that was 1.5 rotations. I'm going to do 2. Tighten up on that. And then I'm going to do 2 again. I want 2 full rotations on each wire. And then we'll be snapping these crazies off once we get them secure. So I'll do it one more time, and then I'll meet you guys down here. So here's my first rotation. Just looking at that, opening up a little gap there. I could feel it getting a little tight. There's my second. That's all we're doing. And then over, and then 2. So always coming underneath, going over twice, over the top, over twice. It's the same thing. And if you're advanced, then you know this weave very well. It's commonly used all the time. You could do 3 coils, as many coils that you want. The more you spread it out, the more it changes the design. So I need a little more gap. Feel that tightening up on me there. Starting to get more secure, even though my stone is still moving around a lot. That will be until we connect everything. And honestly, y'all, I'm getting a little mentally fatigued. I've been doing this all day. I think I'm going to have to do this is part 4, 5, and 6. Oh, I can't do any more tutorials today. I know you don't understand because I'm releasing them at different times, but I'm actually did these 3 parts today. Okay, so I'm going to get some of these wonky wires out of here. I'm going to slide up my weaving, hold very firmly on it, slide it up. I know it's hard to see because I have to hold this down. You can come in with your plier very carefully and just give it a little wiggle up. And I am going to snap this loose guy out. Little baby right here. I'm going to hold super firm, wiggle jiggle till it snaps off. And over here, and this one on the outside, because there's still some decent length on it, I'm gonna leave it. I could use it later. I don't know. Not my long ones that I just brought in, okay? These right here where I said I'm gonna stop because my wire's getting really short and it starts to get frustrating. And I'm gonna hold very firmly. I'm just gonna slide this in some more. There we go. I just saw it slide back because this side's tighter. It's funny how that is sometimes based on the angle and how we're trying to get around the wire. They won't be the same. So I'm going to go ahead and complete this, and we're going to come back for part 4 where I'm going to start in the middle here, okay? So I'll pop back in when I get to the middle, and then we'll go into another tutorial, and that for me will be tomorrow, maybe. Okay, you guys, hold tight. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm down on the bottom, and this is where I'm going to connect. This whole design is morphing into craziness, but I'm loving it as it's transforming. And I'm going to come here and pull in towards the middle and bend that wire over a little bit more. I'm grabbing this wire, coming down low, pulling it towards the middle and bending it out a little bit. And I'm still perplexed about what I'm going to do with these, but I'll figure it out. So we're going to move all these guys out of the way that we don't need. So I've got a wire, both wires coming out in between these wires. I'm going to push them together like this to get a visual. Move that towards the middle a little bit so I have some working room up here. And I'm going to cross this one over. So the one on my right now is going over the inside wire to the left, and it's going to pull it together. Then I'm going to come back through the middle and tighten it up. Just enough gap space that I'm going to pull it over to the other side. Now this one is going to go over the opposite wire. So I'm going to come around in between these two outside. Then I'm going to come back up through the middle, and we're connecting them. So now I'm going to come in with my pliers, and I'm just going to snug all that down and get these all straightened out. Lined up nicely. Okay. So as before, we're going to wrap over this outside wire here, and we're going to do the same thing on this side. And I'm going to come from the back, and I'm going to wiggle everything down. I'm going to open this outside wire up here, and this one up just a little bit. Want some space. I'm going to come around the front. So here, with all these wires, I swear to God, you guys, this is how I work all the time. It's crazy making. I'm not sure if I'm going to connect these, which is why these are just hanging out here. So you just push them around the back. So we're starting to come together. So now I'm already thinking about what I want to do and how I'm going to incorporate these wires into the back. And just looking at that. straightening that curve out a little bit. Got pushed in too much. That's okay if it lifted up on these. I'm going to figure out what the hell I'm going to do with those. I laugh to myself all the time because I honestly, you guys, I don't know how I do what I do. I just see things and I say, I'm going to try. I'm going to tell you what, I waste a lot of wire. I don't try with silver. I always try with copper. With silver, I'm a little bit of a wreck, especially at retail. Bullion, and I'm a metal investor, was $111, I think, today an ounce. That's $130 to us an ounce, if not more, to buy silver wire. And to think, 3 years ago, I paid $34 an ounce. So for me, I've been outpriced, meaning I'd have to take my prices up so much. So for what I'm selling for, let's say, $250 would have to be $850 to justify the cost of the silver, depending on what I'm making. I'm just throwing it out there. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking about how I want these wires to come over the back and if I'm going to be cutting these and just rolling them in. So for now, I'm just going to spread them apart a little bit. And I can always do more later. Just looking at my gap here. And we're an hour in again, so I'm just going to do a little bit of weaving. I've got them connected, so it's coming underneath. And I'm going to come up underneath both the wires on the outside, and I'm going to come back in between. And then I'm going to bring this wire straight back up through the middle. So the same thing over here. I'm going to come up underneath both the wires on the outside here. Pushing them down good and tight. Wrap around that inside wire completely. I'm connected to something. Oh, goodness me. I'm going to push that down. Then I'm going to come back through the middle. Then the wire on the left is crossing over to the right. The wire on the right is crossing over the wire on the left. And I'm going to come back in between the two outside wires. And here's where I'm starting to think again and debate how much I want to weave here. So let's do a couple more. So we crossed over. We've got our wires coming in between. I'm going to wrap back in the middle all the way around, full rotation, and I'm going to do 2 wraps on the outside. That's 1 and that's 2. So my wire on the opposite side that's coming in between these two, I'm going to come back through the middle, turn my work over. Much easier than fighting it. Then I'm going to wrap around this outside wire 2 full rotations. So now I'm looking at this on the back because I'm going to fold this over. That's my intention. But I'm also looking at these outside wires or how I want to incorporate them into these, or I don't know. I don't know. I sure am going to be curious when I release all these videos to see how many people stick with it. I mean, just for the learning aspect, I personally would, because everything to me is technique. How does she do that? Okay, I may not be able to do it how he or she does it, but I want to see what they're doing. I used to follow this one artist. She's from Ireland. She's not around anymore. She was way over my head in the beginning, but I would watch her over and over and over again, even though I couldn't do it, because I hadn't learned how to manipulate and work and dance with the wire yet. But that's why I keep telling you this is advanced. But I learned a lot of techniques from her starting out, and it was really, really helpful. Okay, so I'm thinking about this. I'm going to do one more series. Got my 2 wraps on the outside, coming in between the middle wires, wrapping in between the 2 outside wires, bringing the wire back through the middle and letting it hang out. So the wire's coming around the back. Whoops. coming in between the middle wires, back around the inside wire, all the way, pushing it down, and then bringing this wire back through the middle. And where are we at crosswise? This one's coming through. Just got my little brain all wrapped up. So this time, I think instead of crossing over, I've got a good connection on these wires now. I'm going to weave each two legs separately. So the wire is coming out the middle, right? Or do I want to cross them over? No, I think I'm good. So I'm just going to do that same weave, but I'm going to do 2 coils that we did here when we broke off to connect this wire. So coming out of the figure 8, we went into the 2 coils. So it's the same thing. And then I'm going to stop because frankly, I'm mentally fatigued of doing these tutorials, these 3 back to back. I didn't really take all that into consideration. So what do we got here? Roll over the top. How many do I have? 1, 2, come back through the middle, and we're just doing 2 coils on each leg on each side. So you could do a series on one set of legs, and then meaning this side and then that side, since it's the same thing and you're not having to interconnect underneath wires and go in between. And then I'm going to do 2 here. And I'm just going to let this hang out the back, and hopefully part 4. So I'm going to come over and finish off with those 2 coils. Hopefully by tomorrow, I will have more insight on what I'm going to do with these specifically, how I'm going to change that. If I have to cut these out or cut this wire, I'll have to come in with wire here, which would be really hard to do, but it can be done. So that's why I'm really focusing on how to connect these by using these wires here. So here's where we're at, everybody. This is what we have. I'll see you back here in part 4. Have a magical day. Bye for now.